gonna laugh. I might cry and I'm gonna wanna tell you why, because hey, well that's just life. So do-do-do, do-do-do-do, 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 do-do you, and I will do me. Ew. Okay, for real.
You gotta behave. You can behave. Did it again. You can be good boy. You can be good boy. Okay. Go Nana. Hi world, it's Jenguin. Welcome to Ill For Real, a podcast where mostly it's just me, but I would like to talk about real life issues with real life people. And today I have Savannah. I'll just let you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how we met and things like that, and then we'll kind of get into the episode.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm Savannah. I was on Jenny's TikTok live when we were painting her camper.
Oh yeah.
We met because we were working at the same restaurant establishment at the time. And I was working there for about a year and a half, I think, before I met you.
Yeah, and I wasn't there very long. It was probably a couple months, if that.
Right, and we both quit around the same time, I think.
Yeah, we could tell that story.
Maybe at the end, we'll have to bring that one up.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just living life as a college student and dealing with all that.
So, funny, okay, so you said college student, so you guys keep that in mind throughout the episode, but I was gonna see if you if you want to share your age, we'll wait till the end of the episode, because one thing that I was gonna point out, one of the first things that I remember about you was meeting you at the restaurant. I would have never thought that you are the age that you
Really?
are. Yeah, not because of your looks or anything, but I don't know, we just hit it off, and I don't know, maybe that says something about me and my personality. I feel like I'm kind of young at heart, but when you told me your age, I was like, oh, you're so mature for your age. You've got a good head on your shoulder. I think you've been through a lot, and I just would have never guessed. So
I do get that a lot, and I think a big thing is just my speech patterns and the way that I just talk in general.
You're very well spoken. I can tell you are in college. Unlike me, I didn't go to school, so I'm an uneducated queen.
Listen, it's not for everyone. It's really hard. Yeah,
I don't think I would have thrived in that environment, in the lifestyle even, or I mean just in the schooling in general. I was a terrible student. I was in school. Taquito. Go get Ruff. Go get him. Now they're gonna hear his pitter patter.
I hope you can. Hear him go run it.
I'm gonna leave that in there. I was a terrible test taker. I was in school at that age. I was going through a lot as a child and trauma and stuff like that. But I have such anxiety with test taking. I think this is the only area in my life that I ever struggled with anxiety. I would take a test and be like, oh, that was easy. I got the answer. And then I'm like, it can't have possibly been that easy. That's got to be wrong. How did I get that answer so quick? And I would erase it and I would put the wrong answer. And my teacher was like, I see your work. Why did you do that? It was so bad.
No, I'm the same way. And I have a statistics class right now, and the tests, they get me every time. They are so nerve-wracking. Yeah. And when you open it up and it's just sheets and sheets of do this problem and find this, and then you have a whole separate 3 pages of your formula sheet, and it's so cluttered and there's so much going on. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it's very stressful. And I was talking to my friend today. We catch up almost daily, and she's in nursing school. She's,
oh my gosh,
I think a couple years older than me, and she went back to school for nursing. And she's got her residency right now in the States, and going through all of that with becoming a citizen on top of she's fairly newly married and has a kid, and she's in nursing school. She's so stressed out because I guess the scoring for tests is different. What's a 71 grade wise?
Well, so all my professors grade things differently, but They usually, like, I know for my stats professor, she takes, I believe it's like a 93 or 92 and up is an A, from 90 to 91 to like an 87 is a B, and then for us, like a 70 to like an 85 or something is a C,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, which would be weird that they would make it different per professor. Like, you'd think that the grade system would be the same all around. But for her, like, someone in her class got a 71 or a 72, and it was like a D minus or something like that.
That's crazy.
Like, that's it. I mean, I guess maybe it's just because it's nursing and they have to be, like, more strict with it or something, but
Probably.
that's insane. I would literally never. I would fail every class.
No, well, and that major is just, oh my gosh, crazy.
Yeah, no, that's hard. And then I hear a lot of people, like, across the board, like, oh, if you're in nursing school, like, God be with you. Like, that is so difficult.
Yeah.
I'm proud of her. It's a difficult thing to do. So I asked Savannah if she wanted to be on Ill for Real, to have just a real deep conversation and open up as much as she wants to, share what she's comfortable in sharing with her experience with, you know, just different life situations, childhood traumas per se. I mean, we do talk a lot about that here on this podcast. And it sounds like you've been through a lot of really deep, heavy experiences, a lot of which led up to self-harm and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we'll be talking about, and maybe if you're comfortable, like, sharing maybe insights and perspective on how people can go about, like, if they know someone who's young or even older who's going through those types of struggles. And, you know, depression and anxiety can push you so far to get in these horrible, horrible pits of just, you know, just
a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever gone to a self-harm, like, extent in my experiences, but there have been times where I've, like, just not wanted to be here, and I've wanted to end things, and I did, like, try to end things a couple times. And I don't feel like I've ever come across someone else in my life that has been going through stuff like that where I can help them and gain perspective. And since you have a different experience with these things, like, yeah, I would love to, like, hear your side and your events, your story, and things like that, and then maybe we can help someone out there, you know. Yeah. So, like Savannah mentioned, we were co-workers at a restaurant. You guys heard me speak recently about how I, like, left the job, and I'm doing a bunch with interior design and weddings and things like that. So we have stayed in contact, which is nice because I don't know, like, anybody out here in Pennsylvania. My manager at one of the Airbnbs that I run at the hotel, I know her, and she's my age, and we have a lot in common, but, like, we're just both so busy we never see each other. So Savannah has been also helping me, like, clean the hotel every once in a while when we have guests check out, and the house that I'm in right now. She helps me every once in a while with that. If I'm ever out of town or something, she takes care of Taquito for me. Taquito loves Savannah. He's barely calming down after seeing her come in here.
I know, I'm surprised he's, like, so chill now.
Yeah. So we're actually in a different Airbnb that I have been redesigning and setting up for a new client. She has a vacant house that she just wants to list. And so I had Savannah come over and meet me here. So we're cozy. For those of you watching on the video form, we don't, I just found this out about her. She doesn't like the big, bright overhead lights.
No big lights. Turn it off.
I literally, my eyes, even just, like, with the little lamp behind you, like, my eyes are, like, burning. I just do not like bright lights. So I'm glad that she liked the ambience. So it might be a little dark on your end, but you're just gonna have to deal with the cozy, dark vibes.
Yeah.
We're gonna be witchy today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing we did when we were working at Jameson. We both got our tarot cards read one night.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever mentioned, but yeah, it wasn't even a Halloween event. It was just, like, a random night. Somebody came and was doing tarot readings at the restaurant, and he was charging, like, $50 a reading, and I had never gotten it done, but you have had your readings done before, right? And you dabble in tarot?
Yeah, so I haven't had mine professionally done. I normally just do them, like, myself.
Okay.
And so I do have a deck that I will just, like, whip out every once in a while when I think about it.
Sorry, I heard dick. You whip out.
No! Yeah,
I keep that on me too.
I keep that on me too. And along with tarot cards, you know.
You never know which one you're gonna need.
Yeah, no. In this day and age,
any given situation,
it's a gamble. All right.
So that was your first professional reading?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were kind of like touching on our readings after that, and he gave us like a little stone for like protection and healing and things like that. I still have my stone. I carry it with me everywhere for good luck.
Mine got stuck in my window frame
in
my bedroom.
Yeah, you were telling me.
It like fell between like the window pane and the screen, and I don't know how to get it out.
And yours was like a rock that was like very fragile.
Yeah,
like
it was like
dainty.
susceptible to water damage or
my
something.
God.
So I was like, whatever it rains, like
I'm surprised you didn't give me that one. Sounds like me. I just have always liked how, again, like you guys at the end of the episode, guess how old Savannah is at the end, because she's just like, I don't know, we had a lot of similarities, and just like, again, like the way you spoke and you seem mature for your age. And then like you kind of started telling me like a little bit here and there of like certain things that you had been through, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I would have never known from like your personality, and like you're so sweet to people and like very accepting of, you know, different people.
I'm glad that it comes off that way, because I think that sometimes when people have gone through like really significant events in their life, it makes them like cold.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know some people like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think too, and that's not to like praise myself, but by any means, because it's just.
He's being wild today. I'm so sorry if you guys hear Taquito just being crazy, but he's just got to get his zoomies out.
But like I said, like that's not to bash anyone or to put myself above anyone, so to speak. But
no, it doesn't seem like you're coming off that way. I think you handle, you know, your life situations well, and a lot of people don't, and I feel like that's what I'm scared of, is like I don't want to become cold like that, because I have been through so many different types of trauma that I'm like,
yeah,
I'm shocked that I'm not just like a frigid bitch at this point.
Yeah.
Like I
know what you mean.
Very like distrusting of people and stuff at this point, but I just don't want to get to the point where I just don't even, I mean, I guess I am kind of like that, where I just like don't really want to socialize, but
well, and I think it's hard to find a balance between, like, I hesitant to be open with some people about some things, just because it's like, oh, well, I don't want them to think I'm, like, trauma dumping just to, you know, do all of that. And so I think I think it's good to be hesitant in general, just because of, you know, as a woman, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
it's just so crazy and new to me to navigate that, because I was never like that before. And then after going... Can I smack him?
just sticking to China.
It's really weird to navigate, because I've never been that way. I've been so, like, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm so open and trusting. And, like, now everybody's like, oh, yeah, you got to be like that. You got to have a little bit of a wall up and have some sort of, like, distrust, like, as a guard almost. And I just, like, I hate being like that, because it's so different from how I am that I feel like it's coming off as cold to people. When in reality, people who don't know me wouldn't know that, like, oh, she used to be so nice and now she's a bitch, like,
yeah,
and I'm still not like mean or anything, but it's just weird, like, living like that.
I think it's super helpful to hear what other people are going through, because I've listened to so many podcasts where they'll say something like super, like, just a tiny little detail, and I'm like, yes, you know, I've done that, or I've experienced that, and it's so neat to have that, like, level of connection with, like, someone that you don't even know.
Are you speaking of, like, We're All Insane?
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you listening now, my last episode, I touched on that, about how even if a person's story is, like, so polar opposite of anything you've experienced, like, they have a totally different story from you in some ways, almost every episode. Like, they'll say something, or they felt an emotion, or they were navigating a certain, you know, whether it's depression, anxiety, like, in some way you relate to people. And even those tiny little instances is like, dude, I, like, really thought I was the only one who felt like that. Like, I felt like I'm crazy.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think, and I hope your episode here will be that for someone.
Yeah, I hope so.
Have you ever listened to an episode of Ill for Real yet?
Oh, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's good, because you won't know what to expect at the end then. So we'll have a little game that I usually play on the episode, but I always start when I have someone with me with letting you, if you want to share or whatever you're comfortable with sharing, like the worst part of your day or the worst part of your week, something that you're going through right now that's just like, ew. And then we follow up with 2 positives. So one good thing that happened to you that's like, oh, balances it out. And then another good thing that you've been experiencing or going through to like triumph over the negative.
Awesome.
So,
yeah. Dude, now we're at the end.
No.
Okay.
Go.
So I'm not sure what exactly, like, kind of demographic that the podcast will be reaching.
Okay. I really don't know either. It's kind of all over the place. I have a mixture of male, female. I know I have listeners like as far as California.
Wow.
There's like a very, very small percentage. I think it said like Australia or something.
What?
But it's not like a ton of people. Yeah, I'm hoping to, grow.
Expand, yeah.
Yeah.
So the worst part of my week was the election.
Oh God. She's going to get me into politics. I never talk about politics, but yeah, go ahead.
So it was just, I was sitting in my room and I was taking a break from doing some classwork, and I was watching just the map on Google just get covered in red.
Okay.
And I was like, no.
I like kind of turned on a little bit, like a portion of it, like the TV, I don't know. And then I was just like, what are they saying? What are they talking about? I just like don't understand a lot about politics, and it really like stresses me out, so like I don't get into it. Mm-hmm. But I turned it off eventually, and then somebody ended up telling me later that like Trump had won or something. But you were like listening the whole time?
Yeah, I kind of had it on in the background, and I was just sitting in my room alone. And I was just watching my laptop screen and watching numbers go up. And I felt so alone and so fearful, because that's going to change the course of a lot of things. And I think of a lot of potential policies that are going to be put in place will certainly have some benefits, or at least I hope so, but a lot of things I've heard I don't necessarily agree with, or
Okay.
I just flat out don't respect at all.
Okay.
I don't care for him as a person. He has so many failed businesses going back to like the 90s and maybe even late 80s, I'm not sure, but I think the way that he comes across to me is just as a businessman, and I think that that's not the way that you need to be running a country. I think that someone in business obviously has the experience and the willpower to get things done. However, I don't know that everyone's best interest is in mind. Mm-hmm. And I will just leave it at that, because I don't want to cause you any problems.
No, you're okay. Like I said, listen, guys, I'm telling you, she's so well spoken.
Thank you.
Like, blows my mind every time you speak to me. I'm like, wow, I feel so dumb when I'm around you. No,
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I make you feel dumb. No,
like get down on the ground. You're stupid.
No, I'm just kidding. I was saying that as a joke, but like, yeah, I think you worded that very, very well, and you gave like your point without, offending anyone, and you were as vague as you needed to be. But the reason I do this like little kind of practice on the podcast is just to like, again, balance out the overcome the negativity with positivity. And a lot of times people struggle to even like they're like, oh, like that thing that I was experiencing, like you just explained the election, was just so overpowering in your week that you're like, I don't even know, like,
what's going to happen?
Well, what was good this week? Like, I wasn't even paying attention to anything else. So, like, that's why I do this practice, because it, like, forces you to pull out, something happy that maybe does overpower the negativity, but you weren't really thinking about it. So, yeah, it's just basically wanting to know, like, the feelings that gave you, like, what they were, and then if you want to follow up with 2 positives.
Yeah, well, This is gonna sound terrible, but I can't really think of anything.
Oh my gosh, see?
If you
Yeah,
want to.
it's a practice. No, I'm gonna force it out of you. It's ill for real, and we get deep here. Like, it's something that I struggle to do, and I did start doing it because I've mentioned in past episodes, I don't really view myself. Some may view me as a negative person, but I do feel like I'm a realist, and I am a dweller, and I do focus a lot on the negative parts of my life because they affect me so much more. Like little positive things here and there. I'm like, oh, that was nice, that was sweet. Even with dating and stuff like that, it's just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like it's so hard to just be like, I'm not that big overly bubbly person, but I call myself a positive pessimist because I do see the positivity in the stuff around me, but it's just like, but that's not what was affecting me. What was affecting me was the bad stuff. What was
the negativity, yeah.
And I have to get it out. Like, my thing is, I gotta let it out of my system, whether it's on the podcast, it's on TikTok, through humor, talking to someone. And I just find that, like, it's so hard for me to do, so I'm sure it's gotta be hard for other people to do, but it's the whole idea of, like, getting it out of your system. Some people journal or they write or whatever, and I that doesn't help me as much. It's like talking and venting. Yeah. So it's gonna take you some time then to think of your two. You've got to come up with two positives.
Well, so one good thing that happened was as I might have mentioned, my stats class has really been giving me a hard time. I've never been good at math. My strong suits are more in English and writing.
Art for me.
And I was never good at art either.
Really?
No.
You seem like you would be.
Well, I think for you it shows up in your creativity and how you, like, decorate your Airbnbs and stuff. I think it's definitely shows up in that a lot. I think you have a lot of creativity. And just, like, creative ability and potential to do stuff like that. But for me, I got the writing part.
Okay. Well, it's still a creative thing, too.
I'd like to think so. But, for my stats class, we moved on to a new chapter of our textbook, and it's really easy right now. We're literally just doing like coordinates, which is like something I did in like 7th grade.
I don't even know what you're talking about, so I must have not been paying attention in 7th grade.
But it's been such a breath of fresh air where I'm like, oh my god, finally I know what we're doing, and I don't have to spend so much time. Not that I don't put effort into school, but sometimes I feel like I put so much effort into the point where it takes things away from the other aspects of my life. You know what I mean? And that can be so draining. So that was just like a really nice thing.
Like that it was going smoothly. It was going
and that we're doing something easy and we're just like taking a little breather.
Okay. That's good.
And then I guess the other thing too would be
it could be anything, like something small, something that made you smile. Like it doesn't have to be like a big grand thing, but
well, I think circling back to the stress that comes with any election or anything like that, it really allows you to take the time to cultivate the relationships in your life and the relationship that you have with yourself. So I think that that really allowed me to take a step back and be like, okay, what are my priorities right now? What am I focused on, and what am I going to do for myself for the next 4 years to not be sucked down into, you know, a spot where I'm affected by someone else. Because at the end of the day, you're the only person that knows who you are best. And I think it is so important to practice self-love and cultivate the relationship that you have with yourself.
I can't with you. You guys are watching on video form. But continue.
Yeah, so it really, there was a point where I was just like, why am I... Obviously, it's important to watch things like that and keep up with them, but it was also just like I was in such a deep state of dissociation where I was like, what am I doing? I was like, I have to get away from this. I need to take a little break. And so what I did was I lit up a couple candles and I put them on the back top part of my toilet, and I put my oil diffuser inside of my shower, and
I
took...
was in the toilet. I was like, dang, girl, that's a shrine.
Yeah. And I put some candles on the back of my toilet, and I put my air diffuser, my oil diffuser, in my shower, and I just sat in the shower, and I had music on, and I was like, this is okay. I was like, I'm here right now, and I'm taking care of myself the best that I can with how stressed I am, and I think that's what matters.
So, like, that negative thing that you were going through pushed you to a place where you were able to just, like, hone in and ground yourself and, like, just...
Yeah, because, and like I said, like, I think it gets to a point where you're so stressed and you're so worked up about something, and you just have to take a step back and look at the big picture and be like, okay, how is this going to affect me? And obviously this is going to affect all of us for the next 4 years, maybe not people in Australia, if you have listeners there. And I think that's all we know right now. So I just had to take a step back and be like, I'm stressed right now. What can I do that will alleviate some of that? Or what can I do to make myself happy in this present moment? And I think that that's so important in day-to-day life, especially right now, because there are so many people that are being negatively affected by the possibility of what if.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the what if that's scary, for everyone. On both sides, whether the outcome was different too, like...
Right. And I'm sure people would have doubted her abilities if she had been elected into office. And she had the potential to be the first female president, and I think that
I think people are scared of that. They just don't.
And I think
because it's another what if.
Right, exactly. It's another what if, and I also think that some of those perspectives might be rooted in misogyny and the ability to doubt the leadership skills of a woman. We don't have to dive into all of that. And we've never had that before, so it is something new. And I mean, yeah, I get it. I see it from both sides. I really do. There are just things that I agree with from a moral standpoint and things that I don't agree with.
And it's scary, yeah.
And it is scary.
There's some things that scare. Yeah, on both ends. Even for the people who did vote for him, like, there could be someone else in office that has say in whatever decisions are being made, and they don't agree with them, and that scares them. Like,
yeah, well, and absolutely, and
you never know.
It's important to be educated in that standpoint too, because the process of passing laws and whatever will come, obviously, but the process of getting things through is very long and very time consuming, and I think we just have to hope for the best, I guess, and do what you can in your daily life, and
light a candle in your toilet and
put a candle on your toilet and electrocute yourself by putting your oil diffuser in the shower.
Oh my god, I wasn't even thinking of that. Was it corded?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my god.
I told my mom. She was like, what? She was like, she went in my bathroom and she was like, why is your oil diffuser in the shower? And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, oh, because I got new oil that smells like Christmas trees, and I thought that would be really fun for the shower.
I want a Christmas tree shower.
She was like, what if it fell in and, like, electrocuted you? And I was like,
that's funny. I would not have even thought of that.
That would have been such a silly way to go.
She loved Christmas trees.
Yeah, I was like, guys, I just wanted it to smell like pine trees.
That's really funny. No, but that's just like, if you guys were watching, I'm just like, my jaw's like dropping. I'm like throwing my hands up in the air. Like, at your age, not only did I not know what the word dissociative was, like,
well, we'll get into that.
Like, I literally did not. Yes, we will. We're gonna get deep. But like, I'm pretty sure I didn't even know what that word was. I knew what the feeling was, but
didn't know what the word for it was.
Yeah, and just like the way that you, like, the fact that you, like, got a diffuser or put it in the shower, like, that's what?
You were like, light a candle in your toilet.
Because I thought you were going to say at first that you put it in your toilet. I was like, dang, that's
no,
new.
that just got me for, like, a second time.
Yeah, what you did was, like, an act of self-care that I don't know, I feel like I did things at your age that was a version of self-care at that time, but nothing really like that where, I don't know, meditative and reflecting and realizing what was getting you to that point and the feelings that you were feeling and trying to control them and ground yourself. Like, it's just so wise beyond your years. And I know grown ass, like old ass people that don't do anything like that. They don't take care of themselves.
I know.
And it's worse in that generation. Like, it is getting a little bit better, which is probably why maybe you are like that, because you are a younger generation.
Yeah, well, because I've seen it, and I've seen like people in my family go through stress. They're like, my job and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, why don't you just
shut
put
up.
a candle in your toilet?
Yes.
I gotta
That's so funny.
I gotta pull that out at family Thanksgiving.
Put a candle in your toilet.
Stop.
Go get your tarot cards read and be quiet.
Stop talking.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I am just gonna continue pointing out in this episode, being blown away by just how well I think you're doing. I'm proud of you. Like,
Thank
you're
you.
handling things well, and I still don't even know your story because you haven't even gotten into it, but that's a good segue to what we're here to talk about. I don't know how you really want to approach the topic.
There's a hair in my mascara.
There's a hair in my boob.
I think it's like stuck in my mascara or something.
Oh no.
I
That is
think we're good.
literally probably
The
one of the
worst.
only things that infuriate me. Like bugs, like mosquitoes, bugs, the wind blowing in. Like, I cannot stand
Oh, my
driving
Lord.
and they're just like the windows are open and like, why?
Yeah.
I just washed my hair and now it feels greasy because my hair's been blowing in the wind. Wind, bugs, and eyelashes in my eyeballs.
Yeah.
I could murder someone with how angry
No,
I
literally.
get.
I think it was
hair?
just like a
piece of your
just
hair?
a stray piece
Okay.
that came down.
Would you like a brush? Just kidding.
The problem with curly hair is that if you brush it, it makes it worse.
It would get poofy.
Yes.
I wish. I love your hair though. I wish it.
Unless you want the lion's mane.
You wore it like, I think it was like low space buns one time at work, and it was like curly.
Oh, I
cues
did do
popping
that,
out.
yes.
It was so cute. Okay, so
Here's the hat.
for everybody watching visually, like, she always had like black like winged eyeliner. And like, it does make you look like a little bit more like mature, like a little bit older than you are, but I think it's because it, like, I don't know, it just makes you look like, just like look sexy. You look sultry.
Wait, hang on. What if I like do like
Oh. Oh my gosh.
do they know that we're in the state that we're in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born in Amish County, which is Lancaster County.
Guys, you guys are going to be hearing me gasp every other minute because I don't know any of what she's about to say.
We haven't deep dived.
She's told me little things here and there, and when we get into it, like, I'll touch on those things that, like, you have mentioned, but, like, I'm just like, oh, I didn't know you were born in Amish County. Like, okay, continue. It's like her first sentence. I'm already wowed.
Yeah, so I was born in Lancaster County. I lived in a small little stucco blue house in Akron, Pennsylvania, if anyone knows where that is. And I have that house tattooed on my leg.
Yes, that was one of the first things I noticed. She wore shorts once at work, and I love it when people have, I was telling her, I've seen people that have tattoos of like the front door of their childhood home, or like just the silhouette of their childhood home. I'm like, I saw the house, and I'm like, is that your house?
Yeah, well,
and it's so cute.
I saw the idea on TikTok with the front door, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get the whole thing.
Just the
like,
whole house, the
we'll just get
garage,
whole
the
thing.
backyard.
Yeah, so not to cut you
It's
off,
so
sorry.
cute. No, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
So I grew up in Lancaster County. I grew up in Akron. There is an Akron, Pennsylvania. Every time I tell people that, they're like, Ohio? I'm like, no.
Well, I tell people I'm from Indiana, and they're like, oh yeah, it's like a few hours away. I'm like, no, the state of Indiana. Apparently, there's an Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Isn't
really?
that weird?
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a city called Indiana.
What the heck?
Here. And
Which-
I'm like, no, I'm from the Midwest.
By the way, this state is ridiculous because I drove with my friends. I drove with my friends for 5 hours to go to a concert, and we were still in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, honestly, it is.
Like,
It's kind of like Kansas. Like when I was SUV lifing, When I went through Kansas, it was just never ending. Oh my god, it was so boring. It was just cow manure everywhere. But Pennsylvania is pretty big.
Yeah, I was like, how are we going to be in the car for 5.5 hours and still be in Pennsylvania? It's
Girl,
ridiculous.
that's nothing. Drive 37 hours to Oregon.
I do want to go there. Oh, well,
we're gonna trail off. That's what we do here. Ew, for real.
My parents, my dad was in the military. My parents were married well, I guess that would give away my age. They got married 2 years before I was born. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And so my dad was in the military in the 90s and then after that.
Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, because I don't want to give it away. From a very early age, he instilled in me to always take pride in the things that I'm doing and always do the best that I can in any given situation and to just have a fighting spirit. Everyone in my family, or my dad's side of the family, they're so tough and they're so just
hard.
Like
strict.
Yeah, I think it's more of they're very just like resilient, I want to say.
Yeah. You with your big words.
Yeah. Just like able to get through a lot of stuff. And so from a very young age, he instilled in me to always take pride in the things that I'm doing and to make choices that I can look back on and be like, yeah, that was good. That was good for me, and things like that. Also, I will mention that none of my immediate family, neither of my parents or my half-siblings, have been in college, so there's a lot of pressure on me.
You're the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of pressure on me, and I'm also the youngest sibling. My mom was married once before she met my dad. And so I have 3 half-siblings, and they're all significantly older. And so there is a significant age gap there. And my 2 oldest sisters had moved out, I think, by the time I was, 2. And then my brother moved out when we moved to where we're living now. And I still live with my parents just because college is expensive and I don't want to pay more to live on campus or have an apartment. So I was close with my siblings, but just the age difference I think kind of made a difference. But my relationship with my mom had a very different dynamic than the relationship with my dad.
Were you guys not as close?
We weren't as close. She was going through a lot at the time with her own mental health struggles and things from when she was a kid that had resurfaced over the period of time when I was a toddler.
So I'm curious, not to cut you off, was that something that she was actively working on and dealing with, or it was something trauma that she hadn't processed or worked through?
I think it was trauma that she hadn't yet worked through. I know she was in therapy for a period of time, but where I'm at right now, I don't think she was in therapy yet.
Okay. So I was just curious because, my parents didn't, really work on anything with their issues. And it translates into my life and how I deal with trauma and things like that. So I was curious if that had an effect, on you as well.
Yeah. So my relationship with my mom was very strained my whole life and still kind of is at times. But, the one thing that was problematic was that I never knew what I was going to come home to. Some days she would be in a very good mood and just very bubbly and happy, and then other times she would be just upset or reliving things that had happened to her, and then sometimes she would just be really, really angry.
Would it be very drastic? The highs were super high, lows were super low?
Yes.
Okay.
And so in instances like that, her adoptive parents, which I just consider my grandparents, I would be taken to their house to go hang out with them for, maybe a weekend or the day or whatever. When she was happy, it was amazing, I was super close with her during those times, and it was fine, everything was fine. And then, like, when she wasn't in a good mood or something was wrong, it was very rough. Her mental health, I think, put a strain on their marriage, too. There were often times where my dad would just spend a lot of time, like, outside, just, like, on the back porch or whatever, and she would just be, like, inside, not really doing anything.
Okay.
Just because she was in a poor headspace. But I'll leave it at, I never really knew what I was going to walk into.
Yeah.
And so I think that made me lash out a lot because I was just so frustrated and so angry. And so one of the things that I still think about today is that you always hear about, like, the mean person at school, and then when you get older, it's like, oh, well, maybe they were kind of going through other stuff, and that was me. And
you were the mean person.
Yeah, I was that person, and it really sucked because I didn't process that until, like, a year ago.
I would have never imagined that was something that you did. Was it intentional, or you came across that way, like, without really knowing that you were being mean or wanting to be mean?
Well, I think it was just reflective of whatever was going on at home. Like, if things were in a good spot, then I was okay, I guess. But then, like, if things were getting rough or, like, just tense, building up to something bad that was going to happen, then it would be reflected in, school and my friendships and things like that. And that's a hard thing to live with, knowing that you were the bully and that you were the cause of people being upset. And that was in, like, elementary school, which for me, elementary school went from kindergarten to first grade, and then I went to an intermediate school for whatever reason in Lancaster County, and then when I moved to where I am now, I went back to elementary school for 6th grade.
Oh, that's so weird, yeah.
It was weird. So that was a period of time from, like, 3rd and 4th grade, I want to say. Well, and I also want to say that kids' behaviors are very reflective of what they are going on.
Oh.
Of what's going on at home.
For sure. And I didn't do, like, what you did, which was lash out in a negative way. I was acting out and getting in trouble by being the obnoxious, loud, goofy, crawling up the walls, pretending I'm Spider-Man. I think I told you that once.
Yeah.
Like, flooding the bathrooms with water, letting all the like, I was obnoxious, but it was always to try and get a laugh out of someone. And I think it was because I didn't want them to see or know that I was struggling, so I would just try to hide it. And I was annoying. People still think I'm annoying, but that's okay.
I remember being pulled out of class when my grandfather passed away, which we live in my grandfather's house now that he built. But I remember being pulled out, and they were, like, asking me about how I was feeling about, the funeral and all of that. And I was like, yeah, like, it's alright. I mean, whatever. And they were like, they just kept asking me. They were like, is everything okay? Like, are you feeling alright? Like, is everything okay at home? And I was just like, yeah. Why wouldn't it be? But I also think that as a kid, you think that whatever your parents are doing or whatever your household is what it's like for everyone else. And we're also learning about this in my child development class, and that is a standpoint that is reflected in the egocentrism of toddlers and young children, where what I think must be what everyone else thinks. And so that is reflective of egocentrism. And that I only know that because of college.
Why did you go to college?
So the one thing that I really struggled with my mom is that she often was not mentally present. She wouldn't talk, and that was really difficult because there would just be, like, a stretch of a few days where she just wouldn't talk to anyone, my dad or me or anyone. And I was like, that's weird. Like, And so in that situation, I would do, like, anything I could just to try to get her to say something.
Really?
Because I'm like, this is, like, what? I'm, like, this is my mom. Like, I need your help. Why aren't you talking to me? And so then when I got older...
You get accustomed to it.
Yeah, and so I was just like, why are you, like, talking to me now? You know? Like, why is it, like... Why do you want to know, like, how I'm doing? Like, you didn't care. I thought you didn't care.
Yeah.
But so the one thing... Oh, and for the record, I guess this really doesn't matter, but earlier this year, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is often overused, even jokingly, like, oh, like PTSD from whatever.
I do that a lot, but I probably would be. How did you get diagnosed?
So I was seeing a therapist, and she diagnosed me literally, and I'm hesitant about this because she was so quick with it. She was like, oh yeah, and I'm majoring in psychology, and so I went in there, and she, like, pulled it right off the bat, and I was like, girl, like, this is the first time I've met you.
Okay, so it wasn't anything like the way you were talking or reacting to something, or how did she come to that conclusion?
I had to fill out this, like, oh my god, it was so long. It was like 10 or 15 pages of, like, what are you here for? What do you want to talk about? Like, do you have this? Do you have this?
See, that's why
it was a pain.
That's why I hesitate going back to therapy. It's like,
I thought that they were just gonna, like, bring me in and figure it out for themselves. I'm like, I didn't realize I had to write all this down for you.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I struggled with a lot as a kid was having nightmares. And that's very symptomatic of post-traumatic stress disorder. I also had sleep paralysis, and I still do sometimes, and I still get really bad nightmares sometimes.
Oh, that's crazy.
But if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, that is a condition where you'll wake up and your body still thinks that you're asleep, or your brain still thinks that you're sleeping, and so you're just, like, frozen however you're sleeping, and, like, you can move your eyes and stuff, but, like, you can't talk, you can't move. And often what will happen is because your brain still thinks that you're dreaming, it'll, like, it's so freaky, it'll, like, bring in, you always hear people like, my sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah. What in the, that sounds horrific.
Yes. It's
so
scary.
No, what do you even do? Do you wake up crying, screaming? Like,
well, so you can't. You can't.
Oh, God.
You can't do anything. It's almost like watching a scary movie, and you're like,
and you really see, like, a black shadow, like a demon or something.
Well, so for everyone, it's different.
Right.
The very first episode that I remember having as a kid was
As a kid?
Yeah. I remember laying in bed, and I was laying, like, against the wall, like, my bed was flush with the wall, and I woke up, and I swear to God, it was so real. It was like I actually got up. It was like this, like, big blue thing, and it, like,
Sully from Monsters Inc?
Maybe.
Just kidding.
I don't know. But it literally, like, picked me up and just, like,
was holding you?
Yeah, just, like,
so you were, like, seeing yourself, like
it was
third
like
person?
It was,
like,
well, I was seeing it from the first person, but it's so hard to describe because when you're in a dream, there's, like, no physics really, and it was like I was in a dream, but it was just like I was, like, laying down, and I was like, oh, this is weird, like, why I can't move, and because I was a kid, I was like, what the heck, like,
oh my God, that's terrifying.
And it felt so real. Like, it didn't even feel like I was having an episode of anything. I just remember, like, literally felt like I was being picked up off the bed. You know, like those movies, like, with the little girls where they, like, levitate off. That's what it felt like.
So it was scary. It was, like, a scary feeling in the moment.
It was scary, but I wasn't, like, horizontal. It felt like I was, like, being
vertically picked up.
And to this day, I have no explanation for that. Like, I'm sure it was an episode of sleep paralysis, but it was just like,
oh, that's so scary.
Yeah.
I would never go back to sleep.
Oh, and also, what I'm doing right now is a problem. We'll get into that.
I saw that in your notes.
Yes.
For the listeners, she's, like, kind of playing with her hair and, like, picking at it.
Yeah. I was having another episode of sleep paralysis as a child, and it was the Grinch.
Oh my god, I love the Grinch. Can't relate.
It was
my spirit animal.
oh, this is so silly. It was the Grinch, and he was like under my bed, and he like
like a Jim Carrey Grinch. Or
no,
like
it
a
was
cartoon
like the cartoon
Oh,
one.
that's even funnier.
Yeah, it was so weird. It was like I was in sleep paralysis, so I was like physically laying down, but I had like in the episode or whatever, it felt like I was dreaming. I had like rolled off the bed and like rolled under my bed, and then he was just like chilling there.
Ew.
Yeah, and then that one I think I woke up from.
I guess the cartoon Grinch isn't as scary though.
Yeah, but it was
like,
just
what are you doing
like,
here, dude?
It's so funny because like to me I was like, oh yeah, that was just a thing that happens. But then when you say it out loud,
The
it's
Grinch
like
just chills
what?
under my bed.
Yeah. Moving on from that, some of the things that I do struggle with because of post-traumatic stress disorder. One of my big things is water, like really deep bodies of water, and I can tell you exactly where that stems from. I think that the people in my life when I was a child felt that I was a lot more autonomous than I actually was. And so they would like run me a bath at like 3 and 4 years old and then just like leave me in there.
Like they just were like, oh, she can take care of herself.
Yeah,
kind of
pretty much.
feeling.
Like obviously there was like soap and a rag, and I would just like be in there just like sitting or playing like with my toys or whatever. And it was just weird because I was like, why? Like, I thought someone was supposed to be doing this for me.
Yeah.
And so to this day, I am absolutely petrified of deep bodies of water.
Are baths okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are okay. And, even some pools sketch me out really bad.
Okay.
And I think it's just because, like, I was, like, so, like, small that I just felt, like, small and, like defenseless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even, like, if there's, like, pools that I, like, can't touch the bottom, or if I'm kayaking and the water gets, like, really dark and, like, my paddle won't reach the bottom,
Oh, yeah.
instant no.
Yeah.
I need to get out.
Was it, like, because something, like, happened that scared you, or it was just the idea of, like, being left alone?
It was just the idea of being left alone, I
Okay.
think. Because,
Okay.
like, nothing really happened. I was just kind of like, okay, like, is someone gonna come get me? What's
Yeah.
going on? There was one instance where we were at our old house, and the way that the house was set up was that if you went up the stairs to my parents' room, there was like their closet, but then there was like if you went into the closet, it wasn't a walk-in closet, it was just like one like that, just like a little tiny one.
Okay.
If you walked like down the closet,
So it was long.
yeah,
Okay.
there was a door, and it would go into the attic.
Oh, it was like a little secret door.
Yeah, and so my mom was like cleaning out the attic or something, and I was still young at this age. I might have been like 6 or 7. So I like went to follow her, and all of a sudden it was like the hallway got like a million miles long in front of me and behind me, and I just panicked.
It's
and
like a horror movie scene where it
Yes.
just elongates.
Yes. And it was just like, I just like had like tunnel vision, and I was so scared, and so I like started freaking out because it was like dark, like there wasn't a light on. I just remember like trying to get like back to the door to get out into the room, and just getting like smacked in the face with like clothes, and like trying to like flailing my arms trying to get the hell out. And it was so scary. And
Like claustrophobia almost?
yeah, and I don't know if that's like a super important story, but it was just like something that really scared the shit out of me. Ah!
Oh no, I see.
Well,
I didn't
actually,
even
yeah,
stop you.
so-
Okay, so the pulling your hair thing, is it too
Yeah,
early to
well, I
go
was gonna
into
say,
that?
so
or-
I'll get into that
Okay.
now, I think, because that was relevant. So
Okay.
the reason that I just like stopped and like flung the hair over my shoulder was as a kid, this is gonna sound so weird if you have no experience with this whatsoever. This is an actual disorder, but I would compulsively pick at like my eyebrows and my eyelashes, and
By pick, what do you mean by pick at
just
them?
like take them out.
You would pull them out?
Yes.
Okay.
And so as I got older and like started deep diving into the things that I realized, that was my first form of self-harm.
Okay.
Because people do consider that a form of self-harm.
Well, yeah, that's the first thing I thought was, like, that's gonna be painful. Like, even just tweezing my eyebrows, I'm like,
Yeah.
I use dermaplaning razors now because
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Well, and I just, like, I remember, like, I don't know why I do it. Like, it literally, it wasn't even, like, a coping mechanism. I would just do it.
Okay.
And I would, like...
So it wasn't, like, when you were sad or anything? It was just
No, it was just, like, whenever. And so I remember my mom being, like, super judgy about that. She's like, you don't have any freaking eyelashes. You don't have any eyebrows. You don't have anything.
Because you would pull that many out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, it just... And even now, I feel like I'm being judged by the camera. Because I'm like...
Stop looking at her camera!
Because I'm like, that's so weird. Like, why did no one say anything? Like, why did no one...
So your mom didn't
do anything?
Didn't intervene more than, like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, or she would just be like, that looks weird.
I would feel like I would get in trouble if I would. But did you feel, like, scared to pick?
No.
Because you thought you were going to get in trouble or anything?
No, because no one said anything.
Really
No one, like, it was just like, oh, like, you don't have any eyebrows, you don't have any eyelashes. It's just so weird.
Oh.
And so I think now it's more of a stress thing, because now I'll, like, compulsively pick at my hair, but it's not, like, I'm not doing it just to do it. I think it's more of a stress thing. But yeah, I just, like, that, I don't understand. Like, why did no one say anything? Like, that's just so weird to me.
Did you ever, like, cry about it, or, like, was it physically painful to you, or you
No, it wasn't. Well, and this is very reflective in self-harm, is I didn't really feel anything while I was doing it, but then after I was like,
what was I just doing?
Yeah, I was, like, almost, I hesitate to use this phrase, but, like, almost like you're in a trance, and then you, like, snap out of it, and you're like,
oh, that makes sense.
What the hell? Like, yeah. And, so I also, like, felt very judged then, which I think is why I was feeling judged just now. Because I remember...
I'm sorry, did I make you feel judged? I didn't mean to make you
No,
feel...
I meant, like, just, like...
Because you don't know who's listening.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And it was just, like, put me in the headspace of what I was feeling back then, I think, for a minute.
Gotcha.
But, I just remember, like, just feeling, like, judged and super insecure because I didn't have any fucking eyelashes. Like, that's weird. And,
so sad. Question.
Yes.
Did you at some point, like, stop yourself from doing that and then you turned to picking at your hair? Or why did that turn into a thing that, like, you currently do?
Well, so I don't remember picking my hair as a child, but I remember, like, the main thing was, like, my eyelashes.
But is it, like, you're doing that to, like, stop yourself from picking at other things? Or it's just, like, a habit now? It's just, like, something to keep it, like, it could be like an anxiety thing. Some people
maybe, yeah.
You were saying that the eyebrow and eyelash thing was a disorder. I wonder if there's a word for the hair disorder. I feel like
there might be. I know there's a word for the eyelash thing.
I know dermatillomania is, like, where people pick at and eat their skin and stuff like that.
So it's
trichotillomania, also known as hair pulling disorder. It's considered a non-suicidal self-injury. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because, like, I had never seen anyone else do that as a kid. I had never heard of it. I was just, like, one day I just started it. I remember I was, like, in the back of my mom's car, like, driving, and I was just, like, messing with it. And then we, like, stopped at a gas station or something to, like, go to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Was that, like, the first instance that you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was no reason that you did it?
I don't think so. Maybe just feeling in, like, close proximity to my mom. Maybe I was just feeling stressed.
Is there something that people do to quit that habit?
I think it's just realizing that you're doing it and stopping yourself. Being present, because when you're doing stuff like that and self-harm, which we'll get into, because when people think of self-harm, they usually think of cutting themselves, which I also did deal with that, but I think it's just, like, realizing that you're doing it and then being like, oh, like, that's harmful. But then if you were like me, when I was cutting, I was like, whatever, I'm doing this for a reason.
So, I don't know if you were ready to get into it now, but at work, I saw you with short sleeves and stuff, and, like, we would talk about your tattoos and things like that. But you came over and you helped once, I think, cleaning the Airbnb or something, and you had a tank top on, and then...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I noticed your arm on the outside of... Is it your left?
Yeah.
Your left bicep, like your... Right underneath your shoulder.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, marks on her arm, and it looked like... When I saw it, I think I gasped. I was like, oh, what'd you do to your arm?
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, literally as the sentence left my mouth, I was like, oh my god, Jenny, you're so stupid. But, like, I genuinely was like, did you, like, scratch your arm up against a tree branch or something? Like, it literally looked like, it didn't look like self-harm scars right away until you were like, yeah, I used to call or something. You're like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to, like,
phrase
say
that.
it. Yeah, I don't know how to say it without sounding, weird or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad in that instance because I never want to, like, make someone feel uncomfortable or put you on the spot like that. It's just, like, I'm so freaking annoying. Then I was just like, oh my gosh, you poor thing. Like, what'd you do?
Well, yeah,
and I didn't know that it was something that I guess you're maybe comfortable, like, talking about it. I mean, it's something that a lot of people go through. When I asked you to do an episode with me, I was going to ask if you were wanting to talk about that, but then I was like, no, I'm not even gonna go there because, like, I don't want to intrude or be offensive or anything. But you ended up prompting, like, yeah, I can talk about this and this and this and self-harm, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, she's willing and open to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am interested in, like, how that started and what it stemmed from and things like that, because I do know that this is something that could potentially really help people.
Oh, definitely. More than the Grinch being under my bed.
Yeah, not everybody has the Grinch under their bed.
Oh my god, it was the stupidest thing. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, so how it started was we had this speaker that came to my high school. He was from this company or like business or whatever. They had these little cards that you would make promises on, and then you would, like, give it to your friends or whatever. And so he said, I think it was in, like, 7th grade or 8th grade.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Was this a speaker in your high school? Like, did you go to a Christian school? Was it, like, a pastor or something? Or
no, it was just,
like, I'm used to having, like, pastors and preachers and stuff.
No, it was just, like, some random person they brought in, and he was like, this is what I do. Yeah. But yeah, so he had, like, this guy came in, and he was saying about, like, how people, like, stopped cutting themselves because they made promises to their friends, and I was like,
that is so so random, so out there.
I know, and I was like,
I mean, I guess they were trying to help in some way, like high schoolers. Okay.
Yeah, and so I was like, pause. What the heck is that? What is that?
No way.
Yeah, and so, oh my god, I was such a dumbass.
That's crazy.
I was like, what the heck? Why do people do that? What the heck is that? And I think that's how it starts for a lot of people.
It sparked, like, a curiosity in you.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you were doing and then he made you feel guilty
Weird,
about.
yeah. I think that's how it happens for a lot of people, actually, is,
Really?
like, you hear about it, like, from your friends or whatever. Yeah, so I was a dumbass, and I looked it up on my school computer, and then I got called down to the guidance office, and she was like, why did you look this up? And I was like,
what did you type in?
I was just like, what is self-harm, what is cutting, or something like that. And so she was like, why did you look this up? And I was like, because the guy was talking about it. And she was like,
what a jerk.
She was like, but you're not cutting? And I was like, no, I don't even know what that is. I was literally trying to look it up so I could see what it was. Yeah, because it, like, flagged on their computer, and then she, like, called me down.
It flagged on it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, no, like, I literally don't even know what that is or how to do that. I was looking it up so I could, like, get more information, which, don't look shit up on your school computer. Like, it's so dumb. I don't know why I did that. I looked it up on my phone, and obviously there wasn't a block on my phone, so it was like, oh, people do this for, reasons, whatever. And
cool
a lot of,
and...
Yeah. I thought you said cool beans. I was gonna be like, yeah, alright. I was gonna like that. We'll go with that.
A coping mechanism. Yeah. Cool bean mechanism. Oh my gosh.
I got my answer or whatever. And so then I don't even remember the first instance that I did it. I think I know that I was, like, in the shower, because that was the only time that I did it was when I was in the shower.
Okay.
But I don't remember, like, the first time that I ever did it.
It wasn't anything that sparked, like, I know some people do it just, like, when they're angry or when they're numb, they want to feel something.
I think I was just curious because he said something. I was
Really?
like, well, if people do that, then, like, I want to know what it feels like.
It was really just curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
do you want me to stop you when you pick at your hair?
No. Well, because I'm not.
I just didn't know if it was, like, something that you're trying to stop, or...
Well, it's just, I don't even know why that's happening right now. But,
well, you're talking. It's just, like, something to do with your hands.
Yeah, I guess. And, but yeah, so I started doing that, and it was, like, super minor. Like, wasn't even hardly bleeding. It was just, like, itty-bitty little scratches.
Was it always in the same place?
No. Like, and people make jokes about this, too, because there's, like, certain lifestyles or, like, music tastes or whatever, where they're like, oh, you cut yourself.
Face.
Yeah, for real. Like, oh, you cut yourself. And so I had always seen that people would do it, like, on their forearms.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever. I think I just, like, took apart one of my, like, razors for, like, shaving my legs or something. I don't really remember. But I just did, like, little scratches, and I was like, what? Like, this is stupid. Why do people do this? Same thing with my eyebrows. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And I never did it with the intention of dying. I did it with the intention of just being like, later on I did use it as a coping mechanism, and so I was like, well, this is something that I can be in control of when everything else feels out of control. And that's also how a lot of people feel about cutting. And so then I did that as a control mechanisms, but the ones that I have over here were the worst.
On your arm.
Yeah, and they still haven't healed. Like, I'm literally, like, I can, like, measure the shit right now because I can literally feel it, like, through all of my clothes.
Really?
It drives me insane. Summer is always so difficult, and that was, like, 2 years ago, and they just didn't heal right because they were so deep and so bad.
So those on your arm you would do to the point where you would bleed? Like, were you trying to inflict pain?
I mean, I guess. I think a lot of it, too, is, like, I just had a fascination with that, which is going to make me sound like a psychopath.
Well, no, it's because, like, that curiosity really was sparked in you for some reason with that speaker. And for me, curiosities when I was younger were sparked revolving around sex. Like, I was molested as a child, and I didn't know until years later what had happened to me. And so as I was getting older and you'd see magazines in the store or you'd see a sex scene on a TV, your parents would cover your eyes, you're just like, why are you hiding this? Like, what is so taboo?
Exactly. Like, what is it? Why is there a
curiosity.
reason for you to hide this?
You want to keep learning about it. And then in my case, like, I lost my virginity pretty young because I was like, almost like my dad. Like, when I was older in my 20s, I worked in a restaurant where just everywhere was just drugs. Like, people were just doing coke in the bathroom and this and that, and I was like never interested because I had smoked weed in the past and I get very paranoid. I don't like stuff like that, but there was always a little part of me that was like, but my dad did this all the time and it destroyed my parents' marriage. What is so cool about it? Like, I want to try it just so that I know what's so great about it. And
like, I just want to know.
Yeah, and so I did try, and for me it had literally, like, I
tried coke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
no, I'm not
whoever knows me.
No, I know people that do coke, and
some people, okay, so that's where I was going, was like, I don't have an addictive personality. If I don't have alcohol in my house, I'm not gonna go out and get alcohol to drink. Like, if somebody has it, they bring it over, or it's present, like, sure, yeah, I'll drink socially, but I have never had a problem with that. And my dad was a pretty bad alcoholic, but it was that whole curiosity thing that just, like, made me, like, I would have never in any other instance, like, wanted anything to do with drugs, but I was like, dude, like, it was so predominant in my life growing up, and seeing how bad it destroyed his life in so many ways, I was like, what is so great about this? And sex, like, is probably the closest thing that I will get to, like, saying that I could be addicted. I'm not, like, what do they call it? Nymphomaniac? Is that what they call it? Nympho?
I think so.
I don't want to get it confused with the word where, like, there's a word where people have sex with corpses, and I feel like, is that nymphomania?
That's necrophilia.
Okay. not really. I thought I was saying the wrong word.
I was gonna be like,
No, I didn't want to say the wrong word, but nymphomania, I think, is where, like, people are, like, really addicted to sex. And
yes.
I'm not anywhere near that level, but, like, from a young child, I was so curious about sex that it is, like, a very, very important part of my life, and it is kind of an addictive feeling. You get an adrenaline rush and whatever. And it may or may not be one of my coping mechanisms, but, yeah, like, with drugs and alcohol, it was never like that. So I tried it, and I just remember everybody around me being so, like, high strung and high energy. They were up all night and they were up for days and like, oh, this is the funnest thing ever. And it did not affect me. I didn't feel like high. I didn't feel anything. I was just like, okay, I'm at work.
No way.
We were literally working at, like, a nightclub kind of place, and it did nothing for me. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. I'm like, never doing that again. And I mean, I tried it, like, in recent years, and again, it's just, I've never gone back to it. I don't go out of my way to, like, find plugs or anything like that, even with weed, and again, not even with alcohol, but all of that rambling, to go back to, it was literally all just stemmed from curiosity. So, I mean, I don't, like, blame you for that. That's kind of sad that, like, you know, this person maybe was trying to help in some ways, and then it ended up doing damage for you down the road.
Yeah, I think it was an unfortunate series of events, but I am just naturally a very curious person.
Yeah, and curiosity kills a cat.
Yeah, no,
it
literally.
can be so bad for certain types of personalities. It's definitely, like, I'm still very curious. I want to try everything once. I'm very spontaneous, and, like, yeah, curiosity could be bad in a lot of instances, but I guess the takeaway is, don't talk about cutting around people who have never cut before or drugs or sex if you don't want them to know about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just leave it alone. Just leave well enough alone. If they don't know what it is.
Ignorance is bliss.
Because you can't say something and be like, oh, never mind. I hate when people do that. Like, especially, like, over text.
No, now I really want to know.
Like, over text, if you, like, text me, you're like, oh, like, I have something to tell you later. Or, like, oh, like, this happened, but I'll send a voice memo later. I'm like, no.
I have a secret. I need to know now.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, if somebody does know, say you did know what self-harm was, and then he spoke about it, like, for me, a bad thing to do would be, like, oh, she's curious about sex. She's curious about drugs. Like, don't talk about it. You just don't do that. That's not allowed. Like, when somebody knows something, or they bring it up, or I'm curious and I want to have a conversation about it, the best thing to do, like, if I had children and that was the case, like, I would literally talk to them about it. I would be open and honest and vulnerable, and give them the realities, the pros, the cons, whatever, because then that can do damage, because they're looking for answers elsewhere.
Exactly.
Rather than learning about it in a healthy way.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the main takeaway.
Yeah. Okay, we took a potty break, and I put my hair up because I was getting warm. So,
oh,
bless you. All right, to clarify, the cutting didn't really stem from any specific feeling or anything that you were going through, like, at home or anything. It was really just the curiosity.
At first, it was the curiosity, and then once I learned that, like, or once I was under the impression that, like, it helped other people, then I did start using it as, like, a coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was, like, you learned about it, so then in instances where you did want to feel better, you did. And
right, yeah.
At some point turned to that.
Mm-hmm. So I tried to hide it as best I could. When I first learned about it, I knew that people did it, like, on their forearms and stuff, and so that's what I did, just because I thought that that's, like, what you were supposed to do. And so then once I started using it as a coping mechanism, because my parents found out on several occasions, that was terrible.
Were they upset about it, or
oh yeah,
did they try to stop you?
I don't really know that they tried to stop me, but my mom didn't really talk to me about it, but my dad just, like, thought I was doing it for attention.
Okay. Which is what a lot of people say. They're like, oh, you're just doing that for attention.
Yeah. Which
doesn't make sense, because, like, most people that do it are trying to cover it up. So, like, how are you trying to do it for attention? If you're doing it on your own time in your private space, like, what attention could you possibly be getting from it?
Exactly, yeah. But, so I did move it to, like, areas where it would be, like, just easy to hide. So, like, I have some, like, on my left, like, hip that was, like, because no one's gonna be seeing any of that. And then I do have it, like, up here just because that would be easy to cover with, like, short sleeves.
Which is why I never noticed it.
Right, exactly, which is the goal.
So I remember I did ask you at the house, like, briefly when we spoke about it, because I didn't want to pry, you know, but I asked, like, oh, did you ever think about, like, getting it covered up? Because I know some people cover up their scars with, like, cool tattoos or something that's just, like, you know,
For
meaningful.
me, yeah. For me, I feel like a tattoo would call more attention to it.
True, yeah.
For me, it's just, like, it's not something that I really think about. I am really insecure about it because it's something that's going to be with me for my whole life, you know? I always think about, like, on my wedding day, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And, stuff like that. And if I ever have children, what are they going to think, you know? And even with people in public, if I go out in public and I have, like, a tank top on, they're always like
my reaction. Oh, what'd you do? What happened?
I think
so sad. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, because you didn't know. But it's just, I'm trying not to call attention to it.
I feel like I've heard that there are, like, tattoo artists, though, that, like, specialize in that. Like,
Probably,
I guess it depends on the tattoo that you would get. Like, it could bring more attention to it, but most of the ones that I've seen are covering them up, so you don't see them at all. And you would have to wait for, like, a period of time for those scars to heal because you don't want to tattoo over fresh, like, scar tissue. But yeah, I've seen some, like, beautiful things that people do to, like, completely hide that. But then it just depends on, like, do you want a tattoo on the upper part of your arm forever?
Yeah.
And, like you said, your wedding day, like...
Yeah. And that's really unfortunate because I always think about those things and I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry.
No, it's... For me, like, they did not heal properly because some of them were very deep on my upper arm. They never healed right, I guess.
Yeah, you, like, don't know what you're doing when you're doing that, so it's not like you're doing it, like,
yeah,
the proper way. Like, there's
Right.
no proper way to, you know, harm yourself, so...
Yeah.
Is it something that you, like, regret doing? Like, if you could go back, would you change that?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I said, you know, this is now something that I'm going to have for my whole life. It feels, like, ugly and wrong and shameful. And it's like, even though I'm not in a headspace where I'm feeling those things, every time I, like, have a cute outfit on and I'm like, this is ruined by the consequences of my own actions. And you know, like, when I was, like, searching for prom dresses in high school, it was a really big problem. And actually, my junior year of high school, when I went to get a prom dress, the girl that was, like, working with me to find one, she actually bought my dress for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I was having, like, such a hard time and I just felt so, like, gross and shameful about it. And so it definitely is something that I still struggle with because it's like, no matter what I do, that's always going to be there.
Yeah. What was it later on that turned that into coping?
It was the help of my best friend, I think, was a major part of that. And I met her in 6th grade when I moved up here. But she was going through a lot too at the time. I don't even know that I opened up. I'm sure that I did, but I was just like, hey, like, I'm doing this. I don't really feel like I should be doing this. Maybe I should do something else. Or I feel like doing this. And she would just help me through whatever I was doing and, like, suggest different things to do, I guess. And so I tried writing and that didn't really work. I do enjoy, like, writing, like, little poetry lines in, like, my notes app or whatever now, but at the time it just didn't really work. I honestly think that it's something that people can grow out of, or at least that's what happened to me, was because once I started feeling like, this is so ugly, this is so shameful, I don't want any more of this on me. So a lot of my coping mechanisms now revolve around, like, talking about things like with my best friend, taking the time to be like, okay, I'm feeling this way, why am I feeling this way, and what can I do in the present moment to help?
So when you were, like, self-harming, though, like, through when it became like more serious, I guess? Was it just like generalized, like when you were feeling down kind of things?
I went through a really rough patch with my mom when I was like, from when I was like 13 to 16. We just weren't getting along at all. We were just arguing a lot, and things like that. And so I was like, well, oh my god, like, I can't do anything right. Like, this just...
So it goes back to a control thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You felt in control of that, so you would turn to that.
Yeah, exactly.
With family or even friends, did it ever feel like they put more shame on you for that? Or did they try and help at some point get through that and it just wasn't working, or they weren't approaching you in the right ways of stopping that habit? Or did it get worse?
So my parents made me feel very shameful about it, but my friends were always so supportive and so patient and kind. And I really do appreciate that, because none of my friends have ever made me feel weird about that, or any of like other insecurities or anything that I have been struggling with. And that is very meaningful to just say. First of all, like, one of the things that people would like say to me if I would talk about it would be like, thank you for like trusting me enough to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I think if you have someone that's going through something like that, and it is doing those things, and they open up to you about it, first of all, no, it's not a call for attention or whatever. You know, show gratitude in the fact that they trust you enough to open up to you about those things.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very vulnerable. Like, I wanted you to talk about how to help someone else navigate that with someone, because maybe it's not somebody who's listening that's necessarily going through that, but maybe they have a child or a friend or something.
Yeah.
And people don't know how to approach it, and sometimes their ways of approach could worsen it. So, like, is there something that you would have, that you wish
with like my parents would have done?
Yeah, or like in
Whoever.
general, is there some like way that they could have handled it that would have helped you more rather than making you feel shame, obviously?
I think don't make it accusatory. Don't make it like, oh my god, why are you doing this? Like, you're acting crazy. Like, I can't believe that you would do this to yourself. I think for a lot of people, doing things like that comes from a place of stress or anxiety or things like that. And so I think from a parental standpoint, I wish that my parents would have been like, okay, what can we change to foster this habit to stop? Like, what can we do to change this or stop it entirely? And just with the judgment, I think it's something that's so stigmatized. I wish that, like, my parents would have been more open, and like I said, like, trying to foster an environment where things were talked about more. I'm like, okay, like, I'm feeling this way, what can I do to recognize that I'm feeling this way, instead of doing something that's destructive or that hurts myself or my body or the people around me. And so I think the main thing is just be open to when people talk about it,
so that they feel safe, like opening up to you.
Yeah. Sometimes, like I said, like, writing didn't really help me all that much. And I think it was just something that I really just grew out of. Like, as I got older, it was like, it just wasn't really something that crossed my mind.
You getting sleepy?
Yeah.
We gotta get Savannah home soon.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you think your response to your parents would have been had they asked you, what can we do? What can we change? Like, what would you have told them?
I think because my relationship with my parents was so complicated at that point in time, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of stress, and like everything was like accumulating. And be like, well, I fought with this parent this week because they said this, and then that goes back to last week and the week before that. I wish that I could have been put in a place where I didn't feel scared to talk to my parents about that. I think if you know anyone that is going through something like that it's really important to create a safe environment and a safe place to, first of all, like, ask if you really need to, or wait until they're, like, vulnerable enough to tell you for themselves.
General, like,
environment,
the home, communication, safety, environment thing.
Yeah, and like I said too, like, they always made it like, it was like, oh my god, like, why are you doing this to yourself? Stop. And it was just like, okay, but that's not really helping.
Now I'm doing it more.
Yeah, like, because you're making me feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure what I would have gone back and said.
I think I mentioned in a episode way back that, like, a lot of people start therapy for the first time in their adult years, and I don't see why we don't have kids doing therapy at a younger age, even if it doesn't have to be super intense and, like, dramatic or anything, but just giving them another person,
the space
outside of the home life, because a lot of kids don't feel safe opening up to their parents because I think they're going to get in trouble about things. So, like, giving them this outlet of someone to talk to navigate those things, because that's...
Exactly. Well, and when you foster the behavior from a young age, of healthy behaviors and healthy coping habits, it turns into a lifelong skill. And I wish that someone would have been like, hey, like, this is not constructive. This is objectively not helping you. But from a therapy standpoint, especially, like, before I met my best friend and the support group that I have now, I wish that someone would have said something like that. So I'll put it that way. I wish that someone would have said that to me, like, when I was younger, before I had the support group that I do now.
That they would have said what?
These are not objectively constructive habits.
Okay.
It's just, at the end of the day, I wasn't in an environment where I felt open to talking about things. And I think that that's just the way that it was, unfortunately. And even if I did have healthy coping habits, you know, in my, like, elementary school years and whatever, I don't know that it really would have done much. And maybe that's just, like, hindsight because I didn't have it. I'm like, oh well, maybe nothing would have changed, maybe it would have changed, I don't know.
Kids normally have their personality, like, pretty much established by, like, the age of 5. Like,
oh wow,
the way that they've learned to communicate, the way that they handle, like, temper tantrums, and the way that they regulate themselves, like, their attitude and their personalities are, like, past 5 years old. It's really hard to break, like, those deep-rooted issues. And so early childhood years is, like, so crucial and so important. And then you mentioned, like, the whole, even the bathtub thing, like, 3 or 4 years old, and you remember that, and, like, that was, like, one of the first feelings that you felt of, like, oh, I don't feel like the safest, you know? I don't know. So, yeah, I think it all goes back to our home lives.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
You have a good head on your shoulders, and I'm proud of you for realizing, you know, you have better coping mechanisms now, and you have a good support system, and you have better ways of navigating certain feelings and things like that. And everybody's a work in progress. It's always, we're going to continue learning and getting better as we grow, but I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. I think there will never be a point in time in your life where you aren't struggling with something. I think it's just the way that you choose to struggle with those things is what comes in clutch, if you will.
Yeah.
And if you figure those things out from a young age, then great. And if not, you have time to work on it. And I think that that's a really important thing to mention, is that you always have the potential to learn and the capacity to learn. And that was also one of the things that my dad taught me was you, no matter, like, what you're going through or how stupid you feel, how uneducated you are, you always have the potential to be learning new things in whatever capacity that you can. Learning from the people around you, too. Like, when we worked at the same place, we had this older coworker that I worked with.
Yes.
And his we'll call him S. But S was, I think he's like 74.
Yeah.
He's kicking.
He is.
All right. This man got burned alive.
He did?
Yeah, I think it was before you got there. This man got set on fire, and he lived at 74 years old.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he... Maybe I
think it's like on his legs.
Oh my god, I'm like so unobservant. And he wears shorts all the time. I've never noticed.
I think he had a skin graft.
Oh my god.
But he taught me a lot about just like you always have the potential to learn from everyone around you, like how inconspicuous it might seem or not.
I think I remember having a conversation with him about that too, because him and I related a lot on the fact that we were both divorced in our 30s, and he started over again, and he's like, yep, I was with, I think I was like in awe because he's like, yep, 13 years. I was like, oh, it was 13 years for me too.
That's right. Yeah.
And we got divorced in our 30s, and he was like, you know what I've taken from this is you can learn something from anyone. Like a homeless person on the side of the road might have more knowledge than you in different areas, or even like educationally or whatever. Like everybody has something that you can take something from and learn and grow from. So as much as people like are at each other's throats with like their opinions and differences and views and things like that, being open,
like capacity to learn.
Yes, you need to have you need to be able to accept that. Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to learn and grow from something until you accept reality and are willing to learn and grow from it. Because everybody has the capacity to learn, but not everybody wants to. And it's the same way with like learning things from other people. Like everybody can learn something from someone, but a lot of people just have this block up and they're so close-minded, and you're not going to in that way. Like,
yeah, and I think that that's really problematic in the modern day and age. It's like, oh, well, I know this, and my mind's made up.
Okay, great. Like,
and it's like, okay, but...
Or I hate when people, too, like, they almost underestimate my knowledge or wisdom in certain areas because, like, they've got a PhD, and they've got a degree, and they've done this, and they know math. I'm like, okay, what do you know about music? What do you know about design? What do you know about mental health? What do you know about, like, there's so many things that, like, I can teach you from a totally different walk of life. It doesn't mean you're better than me. It doesn't mean you're smarter than me. Everybody's just got their own thing. And
right. Depending on who it is, you'll just learn different things.
Well, I'm proud of you. I think you're doing a good job.
I'm so bad at accepting compliments.
No, it's so funny. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about that. That was, like, what the whole episode was about. They were laughing about how, like, it's a new thing that they're trying. When somebody's like, oh my god, your eyes are so pretty. Like, just be like, thank you. Like, you don't have to give a compliment back. Just accept it. You don't have to sound, like, pretentious about it. Like,
it's so hard.
But, like, when somebody's complimenting you, too, a lot of times if you don't accept it or you, like, diverge away from the compliment, like, it could make the person who gave you the compliment, like, feel dumb. You're like, okay, well, I thought your eyes were pretty, and, like, now you're making me feel stupid because you don't think your eyes are pretty or whatever. And I'm working on that. You said something in the beginning of this episode. You complimented something, and I was like, thanks. Like, and that was so weird. I just kind of bit my tongue. I was like, it feels so weird just saying thank you, but, like, if somebody's giving you a compliment, there's got to be a part of them that means it, so just accept it. Yeah, I struggle with, like a cashier somewhere would be like, oh, I love your sweater, that's so cute, and I'd be like, thank you, I love your sweater too, that looks so pretty.
And they have like a tank top on or some shit.
Like, you don't have to compliment back, just accept the compliment. And I mean, you can say something nice, but like it's definitely something that I'm working on, but I do mean it. I am. You're so tired, gotta get you out of here. I am proud of you, and thank you for sharing your, vulnerability and a part of your story. I think you'll do great things. You said you're a psych major?
Yes, I am a psychology major.
Okay, which is good. Hopefully in the future, I mean, you can help so many other people, and possibly you've given someone on here a perspective in ways that they can help themselves or others. And honestly, I think that's all you can really do and hope for. Like, at the end of the day, our our mental health and having people who love us and care about us and loving yourself is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and in many cases, I honestly feel like loving yourself is so much more important.
mm-hmm.
Like, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to care for the people around you?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't give yourself what you're looking for, don't look for it in other people.
Yeah.
If you can't take care of yourself, it's no one's responsibility to take care of you for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And I guess that's the best way to phrase that.
Mm. No, it makes sense. Yep, and that leads me to say, I was just telling my friend on the phone, I've told a couple of my friends, like, do you have any friends out there? You're like, putting yourself out there, you're making any friends? I was like, well, there's like one like girl that I like worked with at the restaurant. Like, we keep in touch, and she comes over and she helps me at the hotel, and you know, we text and stuff now and then, and
send each other Instagram reels.
Yeah, and I was telling them, I was like, but like, I'm not really social, really, but like right now I have Savannah here, really, yeah. And I don't even like going on dates right now with guys, because it's just like the idea.
That was the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the idea of going like to bars and meeting up for drink. Like, I want to be in bed. I'm tired. I want to take a bath. Like this.
Literally. I have to level, like, with whoever's listening to this. I feel so behind. I feel like I'm not doing anything because I'm not going to parties. I'm not talking to 5 bajillion men in my life. I'm not doing any of these things. Well, then what am I doing? Yeah. And it's like, oh,
you're furthering your education. You're being
it's
smart.
Like, I'm going
and
to
mature.
school, I guess, but it's like everyone. There's so much pressure to like do all this stuff, and especially with hookup culture, and it's like no.
Yeah.
And obviously there's like other levels to that too, where it's just like not in my moral standpoint. Like, I don't care.
This is gonna bring me right back around to, you are, in my eyes, like, I'm 33 years old, and I'm telling you, your birthday is what?
August 15th.
What year?
Of 2005. I'm 19.
She's 19 years old. Okay? When she told me that, I was like, there's no way in hell, you are so mature for your age. So for me, as a 33-year-old, yes, accept the compliment. As a 33-year-old, you are not behind. You are literally so much farther ahead.
She's 19, she's in college.
Yeah, and I was like, and I know this sounds really crazy. I was like, and I felt, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt weird about it at first, because I'm like, I'm 33. Do I need to be hanging out with a 19-year-old? But I was like, listen, I told my friends, I'm like, she is so mature for her age, and I know a lot of people say that about a lot of people, and it may not be true. I was like, but she just has a good head on her shoulder, and you've already helped me in so many ways that you might not even realize that you did. Even the little note that you left in my camper the other day.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. It kind of made me realize it might be true. People say that age is just a number. Like, would I date someone your age? Probably not. That's not. But, yeah, I don't see a problem with hanging out with someone that you have similar values to me. You have a good outlook on morals, and you stand by those morals. And, I don't know, like, we're in different paths in life right now, but I don't see why they can't cross and, like, be healthy and...
I know, I kind of felt, and this is like, obviously it doesn't really matter, but it was just funny, because I would like tell my parents if I'm leaving, like, I'm gonna go hang out with my friend Jenny, like, we're gonna go do this.
She's almost 34.
Yeah, I was like, she's my oldest sister's age, but it's like, if you're friends with people that are bringing good things into your life, then
we're surrounding ourselves with good people, like,
then, like, what does it matter?
Big love, yeah. She's divorced, but like, who cares? But yeah, I'm glad you touched on the whole loving yourself thing, because that's actually how I end the podcast. Is I always tell people,
wonderful,
not like, that's actually the cover photo of my.
I think I did see
that. It says "ill for real," and it's a picture of my collarbone tattoo that says "love yourself." And I always tell people, don't forget to love yourself, because at the end of the day, when everybody else is gone, you have nobody but yourself.
And even though that sounds morbid,
it does,
like,
but life is morbid sometimes.
Yeah.
But we also play a game.
Oh, I forgot
I
that you said
call
that.
it, yeah, I don't know why we call it Word Girl. My little sister used to watch
That show.
Yes!
The show, yeah.
My little sister used to watch the show Word Girl. So we play Word Girl. Basically, it's a lot of people call it word association. So this is how it goes.
Okay.
On the count of 3, you're just going to think of a random word at the top of your head. And we're going to count down. And on 1, we blurt out the word that we're thinking. So then we take those 2 words and we try to think of something that they have in common. Think of another word, like the first word that comes to the top of your head with those 2 words together.
Okay.
And we just keep doing that, counting down until we land on the same word. So it's kind of just like
What if it takes a while?
It sometimes it does, but it's funny because I feel like people who are very similar to me were always like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get it right away, and we never do. It's always the people that are very opposite of me, we get it like right away. Like it's just funny how like people's brains work. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Am
it's just like don't think about it too hard. We'll get into it.
Okay.
We'll see how quickly we can land
Maybe
on
we'll
the
have
same
to run
word.
a test trial.
The test
Test
trial
run.
is the game. The whole game is a test trial. Okay, so random word. Ready? 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Driveway.
Driveway?
Yeah. So we have to think of something that is.
I
You
love
picked my favorite word.
I love my driveway.
Oh my gosh, love and driveway. We have to think of something that would bring those 2 together. Don't give me any hints or talk about it. Just tell me when you got your word.
Oh God.
Ugh, this is.
Oh wait. Okay, I got it.
Mine is super annoying, but I'll give you a reason why I said this word. You
Okay.
got it?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Nature.
Husband.
Husband? Did he do your driveway for you?
No, but I loved him, and I was always so excited when he would pull up in the driveway with his stupid
Aw.
truck. I'm so traumatized when I hear trucks with loud mufflers. I'm literally always like, oh my god, I think
don't
it's
like
his
them.
freaking car.
Well, I was just thinking because like driveways are like in nature, and I love nature.
Okay,
So
you're literally picking all the words I should have picked because so me.
Okay,
But
so
that's
nature
just what I
and
thought of.
husband.
Nature and husband.
I feel like that's better than love and driveway.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hiking.
Engagement.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I want to get engaged outside.
Hiking.
I don't
did
have a
get
boyfriend,
engaged.
guys.
I got engaged outside in nature under a willow tree.
Oh, no, that sounds really nice.
Oh my gosh, it was cute. It was like Little Mermaid themed because I'm like a Disney freak.
Did you say hiking?
Hiking,
Okay.
yeah, because we just
Hiking and engagement.
first word.
Huh?
First word, you think?
Oh, I thought you said a curse word. I was like,
No,
what?
that too. 3, 2, 1.
Tree.
Proposal.
Oh, I should've gone with
That's so funny.
a tree. Well, see, now the hiking and engagement is like the same as tree and proposal.
Kind of. Maybe. This is kind of like why we're not supposed to have like a conversation between picking words because now it's just making me think of something
Darn.
that I want to
Okay.
say now. But maybe you'll think of the same thing.
Maybe.
What did you say? Tree?
I think so.
Right? Tree. And I said proposal. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Plant.
Little Mermaid.
Aww.
Because we were just talking about how I got engaged under a tree. What'd you say? Planned?
Yeah, I said plant.
Oh, plant.
Like a tree.
Okay, plant and Little Mermaid. Okay.
Oh,
got
wait.
one.
Okay, I
I
got
got
it.
one.
Wait, it might be the same
Is
one.
this gonna be it? Okay.
Maybe.
3, 2, 1.
Seaweed.
Yes! That was good. It didn't take too long. That's so funny.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my gosh. I think like maybe one time, like on the first round, I got it with one of my friends. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but it was like I play this with everybody like on road trips, and one time we did
that's
it.
fun.
There was 4 of us in the car, and all 4 of us said words. So we were trying
On
to
the
think
same.
at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to think of one word that connected to all 4 of those. Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
That sounds really hard.
It's a very fun road trip game.
Yeah.
I don't know, but seaweed.
Seaweed,
Little
that's so
Mermaid,
funny.
We got it. That's so funny. I'm so proud.
Maybe we can make a sequel.
You know what? Duh. I was going to say that earlier. Like, yeah, it doesn't have to be a one-off episode. Honestly, you can come back. You can help me co-host whatever the heck you want to do. I never have guests on here, so
I love that.
I'd be happy to have you back.
I love yapping.
And I'm sure everybody's going to love your freaking mature-sounding ass over here, 19-year-old self.
I hope so. I always feel like I sound like I'm so better than everyone else. Really,
no, you don't sound
like,
pretentious to me.
That's good.
My ex used to tell me I would sound pretentious sometimes.
Ew.
But I think it's just because I'm very vocal. Like, everything is like, ew, oh, disgusting. Like, I'm just very verbal. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't even want to come on like that. But
You want to do like the Simba thing?
We're going to end it with taquito. Ready? Do it again. Mama si baba si tikum ingomyama. I looked up the lyrics to the song once because I wanted to know what they were actually saying because they're singing an African dialect. So I was like, I need to hear because people just like, no, I'm like, no, it's an actual word. It's not singomya.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it translates to, but I know how to sing it properly.
Something nice.
Probably something nice, or maybe something like deeply rooted in like Disney evil. Like there's like this like conspiracy theories that they always have about Disney.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, good night, Simba. You gonna say bye, taquito? You wanna go on a walk? You gotta go potty? You gotta go potty? Where's Ruff Ruff? Where's Ruff Ruff? Hey, thank you guys for joining. Say bye to Savannah. You may see her again soon. Thanks for being a guest.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Until next time. Love you guys. And then I said bye, puta. You're like, what the heck is that?
That's all right.
So do 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 you, and I will do me. Ew. Okay, for real.